As indicated by our President, the IFP undertakes policy reviews every 5 years. And we determine policy on all the portfolios that we engage in national and provincial government and even at local government level. But once every 5 years, we engage the process of reviewing those policies so that we can take into account current challenges that South Africans are facing, look at contemporary issues, and see how we need to tweak our policies to keep up with what is happening in South Africa at this moment in time. From research that has been done, we have gathered that South Africans are concerned about certain issues, and those issues have been indicated by our President. One is crime and violence, the other is financial and political corruption, the other is unemployment and job creation, land poverty and social inequality, and education. Now, as our President had indicated, there are a number of other issues and portfolios, but in the main, we focused on these 5 areas over the last 3 days and came up with preliminary policy positions that we would still look at, still research, take to the South African public, and then take to our policy conference later on this year. And from there, we would derive what content our manifesto for our 2019 national and provincial elections is going to look like. Now, on crime and violence, I think you are all aware, and all of you must have been victims of crime at some point or the other, but as the IFP, we believe that we are a country at war. Crime and violence are at horrendous levels in South Africa, and there can be no doubt that the current government has failed South Africans in this regard. They have failed in fulfilling their own mandate that all South Africans must feel and be safe. The sad reality is that South Africans, or anyone else for that matter, that may be visiting our country do not feel safe, nor are they safe. The reasons for crime, we believe, are many and varied, and there are a multiplicity of contributing factors, which include many of the social ills that are so prevalent in our society today, such as poverty, inequality, unemployment, and a lack of quality education. And we believe that these toxic stresses lead in many instances to a life of crime being chosen as a line of least resistance and as an easy way out of hardship. The IFP believes that the cluster that deals with security issues in government, we have seen a progressive erosion of core functions and mandates since the dawn of democracy in South Africa. And we think that there is a need to return to fundamentals within SAPS, justice, correctional and intelligence services. If you look at SAPS, the fact that many of the policemen are demoralized, they're not earning enough, they're not trained well enough. There used to be police training colleges, not only for police, but education, nursing colleges, which focus specifically on these disciplines. But now we don't find them. You send students to a university, UNISA, they get an education degree, they have no practical knowledge. These colleges that were started by our president when he was leader of the KwaZulu government at that time, many of these institutions provided practical and academic knowledge to those that will fulfill their functions. We don't find that nowadays. Academics doesn't work only. So we believe that there is a need to fundamentally relook at the judicial system and all these clusters. Intelligence services, I mean, what intelligence do we have coming out of intelligence services in our country? There have been protests, there have been riots, there are, as we speak, there would be service delivery protests, roads would be closed off for hours on end, trucks and would be burnt at Moy River Plaza as we've seen before. Where is intelligence? Shouldn't they be gathering intelligence on the ground to be able to say to South Africans, something is going to happen and let us be prepared? If you look at the judicial system, justice delayed is justice denied. The long delays in finalizing matters before courts is something of great concern to us. I mean, we see corruption cases, we see murder trials, we see all sorts of trials. We find young people being incarcerated in our prisons for trivial, petty crimes. Surely we can have alternative courts to deal with those kind of issues, rather than them waiting in the queue for the normal traditional courts. When I say traditional courts, the courts that we have, Magistrates Court, Supreme Court, and other courts to deal with those issues. So there needs to be a fundamental change, and we believe that as we move forward as the IFP, and as we get more input from South Africans, we'll be able to come up with policies that would change the pattern of crime and violence and make South Africans feel safe in our country. On financial and political corruption, I think, we cannot march forward on yesterday's policies, which do not address the current realities facing millions of South Africans, young people and small businesses. We discussed at length the red tape that goes into starting a business. Even a person wants to start a little corner shop or sell on the street. There's so much of red tape, and there's so much of prosecution and police. We've seen them remove people in Durban when they were selling stuff. Now here are people earning a decent living, but the police come along and move them, because we don't have policies to promote small and medium businesses and small and medium industries. And research has shown that throughout the world, it is the small and medium industries that create more jobs than the bigger industries. The bigger industries are moving to technology nowadays. You look at them, they computerized, they got robots. You even go to your car manufacturing companies, they've got robots doing all sorts of things. And soon we might have a day of robots in our country, taking over what we should be doing. You won't be here as camera people. They'll send some drone or something like that and listen to us, and then it'll be on the news. Can South Africa afford that? We are a developing country. So, and we've observed that for far too long, women have been excluded from the economy. And therefore we are looking towards the establishment of a women's development bank, where women can be financed and women can be encouraged to start their own businesses, because they are the breadbasket of the country. They are the people that make things happen. They are the ones that provide education for us. They are the carers and the givers of strength to all of us as men. On unemployment and job creation, this EPWP exercise is failing us. We talk about minimum wages, but yet government pays a paltry sum to these people, and they count people who work for 2 months or 3 months as people that are employed. Those people are not in permanent employment, but yet millions are spent. And we believe that more often than not, this is used as an election ploy, getting people to don those outfits, go out there and say this is an EPWP program, and people think, well, that's the alpha and the omega of solving our problem of job creation and unemployment. It is not, and it's proven to be not. So we need to come up with more effective ways. If we look at our education system and youth unemployment, are our youth being trained for the job market? You go to university, you do a degree, whatever it is that degree or is what you studied relevant to what the market needs?
All right, that was the IFP giving a briefing there on various policy issues. We're going to go for a short break.